Abu Bakr Ali, who's a solution architect here at Viatel. Good morning, Abu.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Abu specializes in our cloud solutions here at Viatel, works closely with the team at Veaam and our customers around delivering backup as a service solutions and helping customers architect and design their backup solutions for Office 365. I'm also delighted to be joined today by Adrian Lowe. Hi, Adrian. Yes, so
hello there,
Adrian's
guys.
a cloud systems engineer and he's been working with Veaam. So Adrian, perhaps you could give us a quick introduction to yourself.
Yeah, so I work at Veaam. I'm the cloud SE there, about turning products into services for service providers like yourself to offer to end users to ultimately create backup strategies for protecting their data and essentially giving them ultimate flexibility where that data is hosted.
Fantastic, Adrian, and thanks for joining us today and giving us your time. Really appreciate that. So before we start, just some housekeeping. So all the users have been muted on entry to the webinar. So all our guests have been muted. So you can fear not, your mic won't be overheard here during the session this morning. If you've questions, and we want this to be an active session, very much participation from the audience. So there's a text box on your screen on the right-hand side. If you can type any questions in there, we can then pick those up with Adrian and Abu during the session. We'll try and get to the Q&A session at the end, but type them in during the session and we'll pick those up. Just note that all questions are anonymized, so we can't see who is actually typing the question. So rest assured there, your information won't be shared. From a recording perspective, so this morning's session is being recorded and the slides are also available. So we will upload the presentation onto the Viatel YouTube channel and we'll share that link with all our attendees today. So it'll also be shared across our social media pages, which is available for you to look back on in the future. Even if you have any questions after the session, we encourage you to reach out to us, to me directly, to your account manager, and we'd love to set up direct one-to-one sessions and get Abu or Adrian involved. The guys would relish the opportunity to do that. Regarding this morning's event, usually when we're hosting events, we like to give a bit of breakfast or coffee or some nice treats. Unfortunately, in a virtual capacity, we're limited in that. So I hope everyone's brought a cup of tea or coffee along with them. This morning, charity partners for this event is the Laura Lynn Foundation and Bernardo. So every year we support the Laura Lynn Foundation and we also support Bernardo's with a toy appeal. So we're going to make a donation post-event to both those charities. So we're delighted to support such worthy causes, particularly at this time of year when they're very needy. So thank you for your support on that. In terms of today's agenda, we're going to go through, initially, after I'm finished, I'll hand over to Adrian and he will take us through the 6 reasons why, looking at the 6 reasons why we need to back up our Office 365 environment. We're going to look at the shared responsibility model, and then we're going to move on to the Viatel Office 365 backup as a service solution. Abu's going to take us through that. We'll have a quick summary, take some action out of today, questions and answers, and then wrap up at the end. So it should be a lively and quick session. So we will be in a position then to exit the webinar on time at the end. Just a quick overview, and I appreciate a number of customers on the session today will know Viatel very well, but for those that maybe don't know us as well, so we're an Irish company where we've offices in Blanchardstown, in Dundalk in County Louth, and in Limerick with our friends in Ripplecom. So Ripplecom joined the business when we acquired Ripplecom earlier this year, and we're delighted to welcome some Ripplecom customers to today's session. We're proud to be a guaranteed Irish business, so that's a flag that we fly, and we're very proud to support jobs in Ireland and support our local communities. So that's something that's a badge of honor for the business. In terms of industry recognition, we've won the Cisco Cloud Partner of the Year in 2019. tech excellence, and earlier this year we were honored to receive the platinum status of the Deloitte Best Managed Companies Award. So obviously the awards season has tapered off, and there will have been hopefully a few more gongs to add to that, but that's where we are. We have a 24/7 network operation center, which is very much designed to support our customers through pretty much around the clock. Customer care is very much the heart of our business. Getting things right for our customers is what we do and what we pride ourselves on. So that's just a little bit about Viatel. At this stage, I'd like to hand over to Adrian and bring Adrian in to take over, and you're very welcome, Adrian. So thank you.
Thank you there, Damien. Hello there, everybody. So I'm here just to give you a bit of a snapshot of why you need Microsoft Office 365. Essentially, this is the world's largest and best known sort of backup collaborative tool solution, and you essentially need to back that up with a reliable, trusted advisor like Viatel. So essentially, one moment, me slides, there we go. So 6 key reasons as to why you need to, it's jumped ahead there, apologies. One moment, there's a bit of a lag on. Apologies there, guys, one moment. So 6 key reasons as to why you need to back up your Office 365 data. Essentially, number 1 is accidental deletion. So for example, whether or not you delete a user, essentially that gets mirrored throughout your Office 365 tenancy, and without a backup solution you can't restore that data or that user essentially. Number 2 would be for retention policy gaps. So Microsoft do offer some default ones in-house. However, those tend to conform more to their shared responsibility model of protecting and keeping the service up. It doesn't give you the granular control and ability to recover that, and certainly doesn't give you the long-term archive retrieval capability as well. So again, using a suitable backup solution in-house there gives you that additional control. The other one is internal threats. So malicious insiders, so whether it's users, whether they intend to do it or not, sometimes that can be a threat to your business's data. So you want to protect data against that. Similar external threats as well. So for example, ransomware, people that sort of just send you an email to your organization or users, they accidentally open that email, that can be detrimental to your data as well. So protecting against that. And the other one is legal and compliancy. Never an exciting topic, but it's always enforced upon us from legislation and so on for your business to retain that data. And then the 6th one there is more of a ability to sort of protect across your hybrid estate. So whether you've got Exchange on premise or whether you've got Office 365, rest assured you can be protected with that with this solution as well. Often we see that in a state of transition too. So how often do these issues really happen? So essentially, when we do an IDC report, 76% of this data isn't backed up, which is quite significant. So 6 out of 10 businesses don't even have Office 365 backup. A lot of them assume that that's just taken care of until the worst happens. But what actually is impacting that data? So 37% of that is essentially just general user error. Accidentally deleted a file, put it into the recycle bin, emptied their sort of recycle bin, and they can't recover the data. The other one is security threats, but yeah, as we highlighted earlier, so that's internal and external, and often happen without your sort of awareness essentially. But yeah, the ability to recover that data from internal and external threats certainly will give you the additional benefit. And also then the retention period as well. So often not by the time you come to recover, you're already out the window at the time frame that you want to recover. And that's just seen there in the diagram of sort of the chart of how, the breakdown of whereby, the breakdown of the data protection issues there. So moving on to the Office 365 shared responsibility model. So this is always a bold assumption that when you take a service with Office 365, you almost lift and shift all your users' data into the Office 365 tenant. your data's there, it's serving, it's software as a service. However, what it isn't is it isn't protected essentially ultimately with your your customized granular control, which you would often have potentially on house or on premise. Your data is essentially your data. So Microsoft responsibility or shared responsibility is the ability to have the uptime for you to access your data. It isn't to essentially protect your data as such. That's down to you. Moving on, so it's a supporting technology. So Office 365 again replicates that on a geo resiliency. So let's just say they have one region that goes down, your service still remains up in another region. And to some degree, you're none the wiser. So that's the ability there. But having an additional copy of your data just gives you that additional level of resiliency. And and again, so the recycle bin, so we'll cover this later on in a bit of a timeline, but the recycle bin, when you delete files and so on, and you empty the recycle bin, that's essentially a permanent delete, and therefore you can't retrieve that data. Where if you have this service in place, you'll be able to recover, certain files and set the relevant granular recovery retention on that. Security. So again, infrastructure security, they protect at the top to bottom, the hardware, the software, from a security aspect. However, they don't protect you against such things as ransomware, all the user aspects and vulnerabilities. They are essentially the hosting platform. You essentially own your data, so it's up to you to protect that data, and working with a company like Viatel will give you the ability to protect that. And then the final one is regulations as well. So they are a data processor. All they do is transact the data essentially. They don't own it. Again, I keep emphasizing that because it's quite a key point. You are the data owner. It's up to you ultimately to protect that data. So what does Microsoft actually provide? So there's a bit of a timeline here. So just in summary, as you can see here, it's a 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, all the way up to 5 months. And as you can see as well down the left-hand side, there's a number of services there. So your inbox, your folder data, your deleted items and so on. As you can see, most of this sort of phases out with a permanent delete within 1 month, which for most businesses isn't sufficient. Statistically, actually, within 140 days tends to be the law of average of when people request recoveries. And if you can see on this timeline there, that would be almost 4.5 months in. Essentially, you would have no access to your data for archive, for your SharePoint, for your OneDrives, which leaves you in a bit of a pickle if you want to recover any of that data. So essentially, again, having a data protection policy in place to allow long-term and granular backup and recovery will suffice there to sort of protect you and your data. Okay, so how can we help essentially? So I'm going to pass you on to Abu there, just to tell you what Viatel can do to help you protect against this data loss here.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Adrian. I think that was a very important introduction, and hopefully by now that misconception is clarified. And it's very clear for you that while Microsoft is doing a fantastic job in providing undisputed, flexible services for their customers, they still focus on the infrastructure management and uptime of that service. And it's still your responsibility as a data owner to make sure that this data is being taken care of in terms of the long-term protection and long-term availability. If there is a single action that you want to take today to make sure that your Office 365 data is fully protected, is to start taking regular backups, right? Hopefully those backups should be kept away from your Office 365 organization, so they can remain unaffected should any incident impact your live environment. This is why in Viatel we have worked closely with Veaam to come up and provide a backup solution for Office 365 environments. It's a comprehensive solution that allows you to back up and restore data from your Office 365 organizations that's being exchanged online, or OneDrive, SharePoint, or Teams, which is recently becoming a very common applications that a lot of customers are using within Microsoft 365 suite of services. So how can we help? So the like I think it's I think it's very useful to see the solution that we are providing here is an extension for your Microsoft 365, right? It provides necessary tool for data protection that beyond the scope of Microsoft 365 native tool sets. As Adrian says, there is the gaps, and you need to cover those gaps. So what we offer here is the backup as a service. It's a solution that's help you to take a second copy of your data, helping businesses and organizations like yourself to protect their important, emails, files, calendar objects, SharePoint sites, and so on, against accidental deletion, for example. And this is one of the most common use case that I see from the field and from talking to customers like yourselves. Mistakes happen all the time, whether it's intended or not intended. An email can go missing, and in most of the cases, people will only realize that email or that important folder is missing after a few months, when it's needed by the CEO or it's needed for compliance reasons, right? And unfortunately, by that time, it's too late to remediate that action using the native recycle bin and version history included within Microsoft 365. Because by design, as Adrian said, it's not meant to be like an all-encompassing backup solution. So it has a very limited scope. So by having a second copy of that data that is stored somewhere safe, you ensure that even if that email was deleted from your live environment, you have still a resort from where you can restore those files and an important piece of information. Again, by taking that offline backup, keeping it separate from your live environment, you kind of ensure protection against internal and external security vulnerabilities as well. Perhaps keeping up-to-date backup of your Office 365 is the most effective way for recovering from ransomware attacks, which again is becoming a very common risk that a lot of organizations want to immune against. Moving your data to the cloud is not necessarily a guarantee that you'll not be attacked by the ransomware. Those guys are always adapting their technologies and their techniques, and now they are starting to, for example, steal your identity, steal your access for Office 365, creeping into your organization, locking you out of your Office 365 organization, or encrypting those data, hijack it, and ask for ransom. So if you have a backup from where you can restore your data and recover your operation, that would be the most effective strategy, of course. Our backup as a service solution also help you to extend your data retention policy. Adrian just now showed you that what you get from Office 365, what you have signed up for when you opt in for the Office 365 service, has a limited scope in terms of the data retention. And this is how we can help you. We extend those data retentions beyond what you get natively from Office 365, from Microsoft. So for example, when an employee, I can just give you one example, right? For example, like when an employee leave your company, Microsoft only keep ex-employee data for a maximum, let's say for 30 days. It depends on the specific settings. Keeping leaver data is quite critical to many of the organizations and businesses that I talk to. Financial institutions, pharmaceutical companies, legal and compliance. They would like, because of the nature of their business, the sensitivity of the data, and the regulation and legislation that they need to adhere to, they would like to keep that leaver data for more extended periods, right? So our solution can help them to meet those kind of stringent data retention regulations. Again, backing up your data is just half of the battle, right? You need a mean by which you can restore the data. And this is how we have complemented the solution by a very flexible and intuitive tools to make sure to enable you to browse and search your backup files and restore from them whenever you need it. And we will come to that into more details later. Okay, so this diagram. So now I have covered why do you need a backup and how our solution can help you. Let me take just a couple of minutes here to describe how the solution look like from a high-level architecture point of view. So as you can see in this diagram, on the right side of the diagram, you have Viatel private cloud. On the left side, you have any Microsoft 365 instance organization. So our backup as a service solution run and store backup data into Viatel private cloud, which is completely different infrastructure, as you can see, and this is just for disaster recovery purposes. Our cloud is based in Dublin, so you make sure that the data that being stored in our cloud never leaves Ireland. So it's just help with the GDPR requirements and so on. I think a very important disclaimer that I need to make here is that although I'm going to the technical details, it's very important to understand this is a fully managed backup service. So all the components that I will be describing under Viatel private cloud is fully managed and maintained by ourselves. And what we do is that we wrap all those technical capabilities, the technology that we get from Veaam, and provide you with the strong SLA to make sure that your data is protected. So in practical terms, you don't have to worry about all those technical details. We're just going through them here to give you a feeling for how the service works from the technical point of view. So organizations like yourself can take advantage of our resilient infrastructure to run backup and restore jobs without necessarily running or maintaining any extra software and hardware at their own end. So the service literally come with a zero IT administrative overhead. It doesn't need any more attention, any more manpower from your team to manage or run the service. So going to a little bit more detail. So the orange box that you see within Viatel private cloud, and this is the VBO. This is the heart of the solution. This is where we configure the backup jobs, save the configurations, and also executes the data resource as well. It connects to your Office 365 organization instance. So data then can be start to retrieved and stored in a backup repository that is hosted in our cloud. And we store the data for the retention periods that we have agreed with, right? So, for example, if you decide that you want to keep emails, emails backup for 90 days, we make sure that all the emails that we are backing up from your organizations will be kept there for that retention periods. Of course, to store and safely save that critical information, we understand that Office 365 will have a very critical information and data for your organization. So security and high availability is priority number one for us. So we leverage Viatel Cloud Storage Platform to provide a full isolation at the tenant level. So although we are leveraging a multi-tenant environment, right? It's a shared environment. We make sure that each and every data is completely segregated from a tenant to another, just to make sure that full privacy and ownership of that data. Because it's our platform, we can provide different flexible solution for yourself and for your organization. So if there is any requirement to have a dedicated storage just for your backup files, this is something definitely that we can accommodate as well. We make sure that we securely backup and store content over an encrypted connection. Additionally, we also apply security and encryption at rest for the data that is being backed up. So how the solution works is that customers can add their Microsoft Office 365 organizations to our backup as a service. So we can start taking backup and give them the ability to restore that data whenever an unexpected disaster hit. Depending on your Microsoft 365 usage, you might decide to go to only protect Exchange Online, SharePoint, OneDrive, or Teams. Or if you are using all those things, all those services, we can still protect all those services as well. So it entirely depends on what you are after to protect here. You can also select to back up the entire organization, or you might select to, for example, start with the group of users. And this is something that I'm seeing a lot from talking to the customers. Some of the customers might not want to go for a big bang approach to roll out such a solution. They might decide, okay, the customer service department has the most critical information that I need to keep for 7 years. So let's start with protecting that piece of information and then gradually roll it out to the rest of organization. It could be the finance, it could be the legal. The most important thing that I want to share with you here is that this is a very flexible solution, and we can easily tailor-made it to fit your purposes and your business requirements. So quickly, just give you like what's the key features that you are getting from our storage platform. Probably I have already talked about those things, but as I said, like because we are leveraging object storage, it put us in a very unique and good position to store those backup files in a cost-efficient manner, because we can apply data compression algorithms that allow us to provide data reduction for around 40 to up to 40 to 55%, and this is of course depends on the data that we are backing up. So you can imagine all that saving is being passed back to you. Right? We also apply encryption. As I said, like we are applying encryption for the data in the transit. We are applying encryption for the data after it rests in our platform as well. So just to just for a peace of mind and to make sure that your data is fully protected end to end. Because we are using object storage again, it allows us for a maximum scalability. So we ensure that there is always like enough resources there, and we can grow as your business grow. So you don't have to worry about your Office 365 organization growing or adding more data or adding more accounts. There is always we can always scale up and down just to fit your business requirements here. So let me finish with this slide, and in this slide is so this is the self-service portal that we have implemented. And the whole idea is that we want to provide, it's all about user experience, and it's all about how easy for you and your IT administrators to start restoring those lost emails or lost files. So to deliver a flexible and comprehensive solution, what we have done is that we have implemented this self-service portal, which is a web-based tool, so you can access it from any web browser, right? And it gives you the option to perform different recovery options, right? So from there you can log in, you can see all your organizations that has been backed up, you can browse all the different accounts, the inboxes, the OneDrives, the Teams, the SharePoints, everything, right? And then you can start doing recovery from there. So actually, this is what you get when you sign up for the service. You get an access to this portal where you, whether it's managed by you or someone from your IT departments, they will get an access to that one. And we're always happy to have like a one-to-one demo with you and your team to just, give you a feeling from that portal, walk through it, and do some recovery options as some recovery, options as well. I'm just here listing a few of the options that is supported by the service. So for example, you can do a simple recovery for an email. And again, this is coming to the scenario where you have lost an email. You can jump to our portal, browse over the files, just by clicking on that email, you will be able to restore that email back to your Office 365 inbox. In a more critical cases where, for example, you have lost the whole inbox, for example, like the user was deleted by mistake or something, and you want to restore the whole inbox, this is something still we can do. Again, jumping to the inbox, triggering that restore option for the whole inbox, and in no time, all the data will be transferred back from our from Viatel cloud back to your Office 365 organization. In some cases, it might be very helpful to have the ability to extract that single email, for example, to your local machine. For example, if you want to just quickly, have an access to that email, see what does it contain without, the need to restore it back to your Office 365. Or it might be very useful when, for example, your Office 365 organization is no more accessible, and you want to just, extract all those information from your backup repository locally, get access to it while your Office 365 is being worked on. So again, all those options are covered and supported by our service. And the same goes for the SharePoint and OneDrive and Teams. Back to you, Damien.
Thank you. Thanks, Abu. Thanks for that, Adrian. It was a great oversight. So just a recap in terms of Adrian took us through the 6 reasons in terms of why we need to look at our Office 365 and backing up that service, whether it's accidental deletion or more malice reasons, external security threats. I think it's very important to know these reasons. We also looked then in terms of the shared responsibility model, and that's shared responsibility between Microsoft and where their kind of demarcation points lie, and where the customer or your organization's demarcation lies in terms of backup. So it was great to get Adrian involved and bring us through those points. Abu then took us through in terms of the Viatel infrastructure and the portals that we offer. And just a recap on our solution. It's a very secure, encrypted end-to-end solution. It's hosted in our Dublin data centers, which are fully PCI ISO certified facilities and high secure facilities. Your data never leaves Ireland with a Viatel solution, so that's very important from a data sovereignty perspective. Our solutions, we bring simplicity to it. We do all the complex stuff in the background as such, the architecture piece, and we bring you the simplified solution at the front end. So we've got a lot of really great people behind this solution, so we ask you to lean on us as much as possible and test our solution architects and engineers behind the scenes. And again, from a cost effective perspective, it's very important that this solution is cost effective. It's not a heavy CapEx model, it's a OpEx pay as you use and pay as you grow type model, which is a nice approach in the current climate. Just jumping on to some of the, before I jump onto that, I'd like to offer out to all our webinar visitors today an exclusive 2-month free trial on the service. So anyone that's attending the webinar today, just engage with your account manager, reach out to myself, damien.mccann@viatel.com, and we will set up a 2-month, no obligations free trial of the service. We also have the ability to, as I mentioned earlier, set up a solution architect session where we can whiteboard out your solution on a Teams call and design a custom solution for your business. So it's very much a nice offer. Try it out for 2 months. There's no obligation after that, but we probably guarantee that you'll like the service experience of Viatel, and you'll continue on with ourselves. So that's a nice offer from ourselves. Just quickly, we'll get into the Q&A, but before I do, on the charity side of things, we peaked at 35 people on the webinar there today, and thank you for that. We said we'd donate the price of a cup of coffee for each of the attendees today, so we're going to go with Dublin City Centre prices here, and €10 coffees, and we'll donate 350 euros across both charities, so 175 with each charity. So nice for Bernardo's and the Laura Lynn Foundation for receiving that. So thanks for joining, and thanks for your support on that. Quickly, we can get on to some of the questions, and I see Adrian's been busy there chipping away at some of the answers, but we should tease out some of these questions just verbally also. So the first question is, I'm using Microsoft Teams for collaboration, sharing files. Can you back up Teams, Microsoft Teams? Adrian, do you want to take that? I think you.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to emphasize then, we can have backup Teams source data for a while, which consists of sort of SharePoint, OneDrive, and so on. Hot off the press, so as of today, we can back up the relevant metadata, so that's all the magic source that holds Teams together, all the tabs, all the intelligence and so on. So that'll give you the ability to recover even more granularly. So previously, we had 25 methods of recovery, and as of today, you now have 40 options for recovery, which seems a bit of an overwhelming sort of number, but the bottom line is it gives you the flexibility to give you data that you require from whatever element of
Thank you. Thanks for that, Adrian. Our next question that's come in there regarding, do you need admin access to Microsoft 365 org to perform your backup? Abu, if perhaps you could take that one.
Yeah, thanks, Damien. I think this is a very important question, and I think it's very important to stay there here that our solution is fully compliant with all the best practices when it comes to the security. So we support all the authentication methods that Microsoft would advise you to do, like enabling multi-factor authentication and modern authentication and so on. So what we usually recommend for our customers is not handing over their administration access to us. It's to create a separate backup account, that will help them to only assign the roles that we would need to start backing up those files. And again, this is very, very aligned with the security best practices of, like least privilege. So you only give that accounts only just the privilege that it needs to start doing backups. For example, that account that we'll be using for the backup wouldn't need to assign licenses or creating users or removing licenses and so on. So administration access to your organization, no, this is something that we don't need. And usually as part of the service on board, what we'll do is we'll work with you and your team to set up that backup account and make sure that, that, for example, following the best practices, maybe we need to change the password for that account each and every couple of months.
Okay, thanks, Abu. Just the next question in, and this is regarding the duration of retention periods. So are retention periods not capable of retaining all the same data for many years? Question. And we'll go to Adrian with that, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So I answered this on in the chat as well. So I guess in summary, yes, we do give you the ability to retain that data by using the solution. So using a native Microsoft tool, you don't have the capability to keep the data for long term. You certainly don't have control of how you define that and recover that. As we mentioned on that timeline as well, most of your data sort of get purged as well. So after a couple of months, so with this Viatel solution, you'll be able to keep your data definitely for as long as you want to retain it, essentially. So you work with a team on your retention requirements.
Okay, thanks for that. The next question, I have a hybrid model using on-prem and cloud-based Office 365. So we see this a lot with customers, actually. Can your solution cover this case? Abu, can you do that?
Yeah, I can start and then maybe I will hand over to Adrian as well to add to that one. Yeah, I think this is a very good question. Again, the architecture diagram that we have shown there, maybe it fails to also show the on-prem part, but yes, this is something that we can support. So, and we see this is from talking to a lot of organizations, who are maybe in the middle of that migration, or maybe they have decided to keep some of their workloads on-prem, so they're still using Exchange on-prem or SharePoint on-prem. So in summary, yes, the backup as a service solution can cover both. So you will end up with a single solution that covers your data end-to-end on-prem and cloud. Adrian, do you have anything to add?
Well, pretty much going to echo what you've just said there. So bottom line is, yes, we support it. We personally, as a solution provider, don't mind where you have it, whether it's on premise or in Office 365. And as Boo said there, a lot of the time that's usually during a transition phase, but we appreciate that most customers have their own sort of requirements, whether they keep it on premise, off premise. We just want to give you the solution to blanket approach that and give you a simplified backup solution to cover both.
Very good, thank you. And Boo, finally, just in terms of pricing and how a solution is kind of architected from come up with the commercial model, what detail do you go through with a customer to come up with that model?
Perfect. Yeah, another good question. So it's important to remember that, the sizing of the storage needed will vary from one case to another. So what we do is usually is that we engage with the customer and try to understand, how they are currently using Microsoft 365. Like, what services, how many accounts, what's the average size of their inbox. And from that, we work out what will be the storage requirements. So it's a quite like, you know, case by case, because as I said, it really depends on what's the customer, how the customer is using, and like, you know, what's the data retention required.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for that, Abu. And again, just to reaffirm, any customers with you know, wants to query this further, we'd love to set up one-to-one sessions. We can get the right people involved and tease out a solution that fits your business or your enterprise requirement. So by all means, reach out to us and we can book in a virtual session over the coming days or weeks. Please do that. So without further ado, I'd just like to say at 10:42, bang on time. Congratulations, guys. Thanks for joining us this morning. It was a great session. Thanks to Adrian, thanks to Abu for their input. Thanks to you for coming on board and helping us support a great charity, or great charities this morning. We're delighted to do that. By all means, reach out to me direct or reach out to the team. We'd love to engage further around this solution. So thank you. And it's not too early to say this, but I wish everyone a very happy Christmas, so and a happy New Year. So thank you.
Thanks so much.